Hello and welcome back to the Narrowbox Comic Channel. So today I'm talking about Wolverine versus Predator versus Wolverine issue 2. But before I do that, I wanted to address an issue that might have arisen. I am not anti Jonathan Hickman. I don't think that he's a hacker or anything like that. My last video kind of singled him out. He's a fine writer, and I can, the thing that I wanted to say is that it's the stories that he is being paid to tell that are my issue, and I don't think there's any issue with him as a writer. And there's finally got my evidence as to why that is. I've heard negative things about this book, but I actually really enjoyed it. The thing I don't really like about it is it's trying to set another level above the Marvel Universe's already established multiverse. Well, it's not multiverse. What's the Living Tribunal, the Eternity, and the Chaos and Order. They're trying to establish another layer of that as encompassing all of reality. So it has a bit of an issue. I have a bit of an issue with that concept. However, the story is fine. So I read it. Mega expensive, obviously, $9.99, but I think it's like 60 pages or something, and it was actually a cool little read. Now, this is what Marvel should be putting in the small format books. This is the sort of content that should be going in there, and they shouldn't be releasing it as floppies. That's my take. I think this would work well as Marvel's equivalent to manga, and what they should probably do is take it out of the 616, make it its own thing. This is why I mean Hickman's great. And so, yeah, they've got the talent to kind of create and rejuvenate the comics industry, but they don't use it, or they use it in a weird way. And this is a weird book if it's set in the 616. So, yeah, again, that's inside. So that's a great little book. So going on to today's book, before I go on to today's book, there's one other honourable mention. Went to the comic book shop and I saw this and I was like, what? Oh, no. Cash In City. And this was the same objection I had to when I heard that Predator versus Wolverine was being made. Because I just look at the title, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And it's ludicrous. It's obviously a tie-in. It's a commercial tie-in with the new movie that's coming out, the new Godzilla versus Kong movie. And it's kind of like, I remember when the idea of Godzilla versus Kong was kind of a thought that would be, wow, that would be cool. And it turned out to not be cool. And it wasn't. I mean, I watched that movie. I love Kong in that movie. He was great. And Godzilla was just, meh. They didn't do a great job of explaining Godzilla's motivations. And this is the thing. Godzilla's motivations, the thing that makes him a hero, they just seem to just make him the villain and make Kong the hero. And that was really lame. And the little thing with the deaf girl and all that stuff. Anyway, this is just a tie-in to this new movie. And obviously that made me like, come on, DC, you can do better than this. But then I thought, wait, Predator versus Wolverine was absolutely brilliant. Let's give it a go. And I can honestly say, really enjoyed this. Now, Justice League has come onto the Netflix. I've got the whole Justice League video collection, but it's all stored away. So the other day I was watching an episode of Justice League, and it was brilliant. I love that cartoon. Bruce Timm and Timmyverse was absolutely fantastic. Paul Dini writing some of the old Batman stuff is fantastic. So what I would say about that Justice League that I absolutely love is this story is very much in that vein. Although it uses the updated versions of the characters, the Hal Jordan, the cocky, brash Hal Jordan that they have now. I think that was it kind of came out of the DC 52, New 52. I don't know. But anyway, that version of Hal Jordan, I'm not a big fan of that version of him. But this story tells such a great Justice League story. It's a little Superman vignette, and I just thought that's great. So if you're on the shelf about picking this book up, I would pick it up. It's fun. It's a fun book. Right, on to today's main event. What I've been talking about on my channel, Predator versus Wolverine. And like I said, I just thought, wow, this is just a throwback to 90s, like throw the movie properties up against a popular character and then sell books. And that's exactly what it is. That's the strategy that they've used. That's what it is. And we're going back to the 90s to take that strategy and bring it into the modern day. Only they're actually flipping great. So this book, when I saw that the ending was going to be Team X versus Predator, basically, I was kind of like, okay, I'll buy. I'm not sure if that will be a good setup, but man, was it. It was a great setup. So this book has Wolverine and Team X going off into the jungles of South America. I'm going to skip past all this stuff because it's told in this backwards forwards version of the story. So it takes place before, it takes place in the present, and it's kind of like a present story. So the main event of this book is Team X versus Predators. And I say Predators because obviously he's being hunted. There's a hunting party. Now, if you don't know anything about the Predators, Dark Horse back in the day did some great lore building and world building around the Predators. But I don't think they ever explicitly explained them with the Yautja, or whatever, however that's pronounced, Yautja. I should have done the research before I did this video. But there was a great story that there was a short story in an anthology, and I can't remember exactly one. It was DHP, so Dark Horse Presents, something like that. And it was a pilot of two pilots taking a group of young predators on a hunting expedition to fight aliens from the movie Aliens. And obviously the whole party gets wiped out because they are inexperienced, and this is a really powerful adversary. And it's a cool story because it sets up the actual Aliens versus Predator, the first Aliens versus Predator that Dark Horse did. And the only one that survives that encounter with the aliens is the hero of that story, the Predator hero of that story, Broken Tusk. So his experience of dealing with the aliens is what puts him in the position to meet Noguchi in the actual main first story of Aliens versus Predator that ever was in the comics that Dark Horse published. So that's precedent for this. Like, this Predator that's been hunting Wolverine has brought young predators with him and to fight Team X. Now, there's a bit of a contrivance here in the sense that Wolverine's had his memory scrubbed and he doesn't remember the encounter with this Predator. However, he's carrying around a piece of Predator tech all the time. But I'm going to let it slide because obviously I don't think this is set in the 616. But it's a nice addition to the multiversal nightmare that's going on at the moment. But it's a fun addition. So anyway, the fight starts. Wolverine pulls off this Predator weapon he's been carrying around, and then all of a sudden he's using it and he's taking out a young Predator, but he's failed to take out his main adversary. And so then we see, hark back to the first Predator movie, and this is what I think it's Benjamin Percy that writes this book, and he does a great job of tying what we love about the Predator into this Predator versus Wolverine story. And that's what I really enjoy. So we've got Mac, played by Sabretooth in this issue, taking out the entire forest. But obviously it's a slight variation on the story. And so, yeah, we get cool action there. We all love Sabretooth, despite the fact that he's a horrible psychopathic villain. He's a great character. And, the Predator gets up close to him, sticks one in his back, an old Sabretooth. There, I see you. Flipping brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So then obviously, like the red shirts in Star Trek, you've got your expendable crew on Task Force X, and obviously they get dispatched. So it evens up the playing field. It puts, the story puts Wolverine in danger. These are a threat, and they tackle it. And then you got Maverick, you know, he's a well-known character. And it kind of, you don't think that he's going to die. And I will say there's some formulaic aspects to this book. If you're not a fan of that, or if you're not keen on that, this is probably not the book for you. But this formulaic way of telling a story is absolutely fine for this type of a property, because this is a throwback to the original movie. They are conjuring the same emotional aspects that that film did, and that's what made it popular, made it, you know, a cult fan favorite. And yeah, again, there's nothing outstanding in the book, and when I say nothing outstanding, it depends how you look at it. You know, the book takes a very simple formula and just works it to fit in with the story. It fits both elements of the story. So you got the commandos in the jungle taking out terrorists. Well, this is saying for Team X is taking out a Guatemalan general or something, and they end up in a temple. And this temple has some relevance to the Predators. Now, this was a cool little page. I really like this because it seemed as though that they were there to hunt Task Force X, but it doesn't look like that's the case. And the writer seems to hint that they were there for another reason. And that's what turns this story, like, this is the little element that gives this story some pertinence. It does an excellent job of setting out the purity of their mission, the Predator's mission in hunting, the way the stakes are raised, how powerful they are, you know. And that was one of my worries about Predator, because obviously the whole point of the Predator movies is the Predator kills loads of people, whittles down to the last really powerful warrior, and then has to face off against him, and invariably loses because the hero has to win. Well, they are kind of setting out this story that might not be the formula that this book is going for. It's creating a subplot underneath the narrative, and I really appreciate that effort to do that. So it's only a one page. They don't talk about it, but here, you know, that's how I took this page to be. Now, whether that's actually what they intended or what is going to be followed through, we'll see. But I do get this sliver of hope that there's more depth to this book than just Predator versus Wolverine over different eras of Wolverine's life. I also hope I would have preferred it to have been a limited series. And that's what I liked about the original Dark Horse stories that tackled these movie properties. They were usually a 4-issue miniseries. So my mind is kind of tuned to this 4-issue setup of completion. And that's a format that I'm just used to reading Predator in. However, I'm beginning to get the feeling this might be a slightly more ongoing series. And I suspect what they'll do is they'll just keep going until the interest peters out, which would be a real shame, because it seems like the writer's actually trying to do something more entertaining than just Predator versus Wolverine. So, yeah, it feels like there's a story here. So, yeah, I'm super happy with this book so far, and I really enjoy it. And then it sets up the next battle, and that, you know, obviously it's quick and cheerful, and it's done. The story's done. You know, all the beats from the first film replicated in a book. Now we're on to the setup for the next battle, the sequel to that story. And here we are, you know, Task Force X's Weapon X facility. And then you get the Predator doing something that we don't see Predators do, you know, outside of the last installment of the Predators movie, where they've got him in the lab. And he takes the lab apart. Excuse me. And then we see a Predator doing, you know, how easy it is to break in somewhere, the most secure facility on Earth, how easy it is for this warrior. Their technology and their power is so great. And that power scaling does the book a lot of credit, because it really poses a threat to Wolverine. You get the sense that if any other Marvel heroes interfered in this, they get their heads cut off. So I'd say this is great setup in the way that I think it was Mark Millar that did the Enemy of the State Wolverine story. That story where Wolverine is essentially the Predator is just, it's done the exact same way. How they make him a credible threat to people is exactly what they're doing in Predator here. And this is great to see in Marvel, because I haven't seen this done. The last few Marvel, I say the last few Marvel comics I've read in the last couple of years, it was just, this wasn't done. I was reading a Spider-Man book with an all-female team of the Sinister Six or Sinister Syndicate. And the Sinister Syndicate were just set up as threats because they were strong, independent women. And Spider-Man didn't want to fight them because they were women, but then that was sexist. And it was so aggravating, but the actual story didn't make any sense. And the threat that they posed was just because they said they were. And that's one of the frustrating thing about writers, is when they tell you things rather than show you. And this book does an excellent job of showing. The artwork as well as not as good as in the last issue, I will say that. But it's absolutely brilliant. It works fine for the story that it's telling. And then we end with that. So this is just, and what we know of Predators, it leaves the logical step for the next part about what happens next. And I just really am excited for this book. I just think it's a great book. So if you're on the shelf, I know I've spoiled it a little bit. I will put a spoiler warning in the title of this video. I think I wasn't planning to show the whole book, but I think in reviewing it, I think it's important to kind of touch on all the things that make it great, because I really want people to buy this book because it's a great book. It is a great book. Fun, exciting, throwaway. And I say that in a sense because comic books are supposed to be a diversion. They're supposed to be fun and exciting and interesting. They're not supposed to be all-encompassing. I mean, obviously there are great stories and graphic novels out there that should capture you and make you think, but not everything has to be that way. And I think that's what the pushback of certain channels on YouTube has been trying to say. It's like, it's not a question of we don't want this at all. It's just that we, the majority public, we work hard, we do jobs, we travel, we commute, we have to do boring, laborious things day in, day out. Like, we want to have our minds taken off of the world around us. The world is hard and we want escapism. And this book is pure escapism. And it's just, that's what I want. I've got other stuff that I read that's more in depth, that's more ongoing. And as an older person, I've got kids, I've got a wife. We've got some issues at the moment that we're trying to resolve and deal with. And life is a bit more challenging than it usually is. This is the book I want to read in those moments. And Marvel hasn't been making this sort of book for a while. It doesn't, that's what it feels like anyway. So, yeah. I just wanted to say, Predator versus Wolverine 2. If you're on the fence, pick it up. It is a great book. And if I was going to give it a 5 out of 5 rating, I would give it a 4, because I absolutely love it. I absolutely love this sort of book. I do wish that the artwork was more consistent between books, but that's not a problem. This cover's fantastic. I really enjoy this cover, and I think it just tells a story of what you're going to get inside. There's no airs and graces. This is a Predator versus Wolverine book. Anyway, like I say, I think I'll do a similar, if you like this, I'll do a similar review for this one. I don't think there's much more to say. It would be pretty much the same thing. It's like, yeah, but I'll look at doing a review of that. If you've got anything you want me to review, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to take anyone who's got an opinion on what I should have a look at. Because I'm always looking for opinions on books to read and You know, and that's why I picked this up. Like I saw somebody had said, Gods will be no good. Gods is not it. And it's actually all right. So, I mean, this is giving me some kind of hope. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being uncharacteristically optimistic. But yeah, that's great. And Marvel need to do it because the independent comics market really depends on Marvel and DC pulling their socks up. We want healthy competition. We don't want a dying industry that's just not interested in telling escapist stories. We want escapism. We want fun. We want excitement. We don't want lectures. So yeah, more like this, please. Great. Thanks for listening. And my first comic book, Intrepid, will be out soon. I did an Indiegogo, and the backers are going to get their copies before the beginning of December. And then next year, Narrowbox are going to be selling it on their website. So stay tuned to the channel for that. I'm not sure if there's going to be some kind of advert coming out. I believe there's some kind of marketing campaign starting up soon for titles that they've got in development. And yeah, just stay tuned to the Narrowbox channel. There'll be more from me. I'm Scott Gazzard, and I write Intrepid, and I also work for Narrowbox as well. So yeah, keep your eyes out and keep reading comics. Thanks for listening. Bye.